Today I want to share with you 10 minutes of useful CS2 information that you can use in your next games, and hopefully it'll help you rank up a little bit faster, and we'll waste no time and get into the first tip, which is that if you are on the bomb defusing, most of the time you can only throw a right click nade, but with this trick you can actually throw a left click nade, and all you have to do is hold right click to start the nade, then hit left click at the same time and slowly release right click, and just like that you can throw a left click nade. It is a really nice trick that you can do, and a lot of people won't expect you to be doing this since it's not a very commonly known thing. And speaking of things that aren't that commonly known, it seems that a lot of people are having their positions given away by shadows in CS2, since this is something that we have to worry about. Some of the worst offending positions are single door on Nuke B site. This big shadow makes it really hard to ever play in this room, or this one in lower tunnels. If you try to peek towards mid, you might have your shadow given away. And of course, every map except for Train has a sun that can also cast shadows, and it's different on every single map, so it's worth familiarizing yourself with where the sun is in the sky. That way you know where you have a shadow disadvantage, because a lot of people don't take this into account, and they have people who can see where they are and they just have no idea they're giving that information away. Today's video is sponsored by SkinsMonkey. Now if you're not familiar with SkinsMonkey, this is a trade site that allows you to take some of the old and crusty skins out of your inventory and you can actually trade them in for something a little bit new, a little bit shinier than what you have right now. And it's really easy to do this actually. All you need to do is log in through Steam, pick the skins that you don't want to use anymore, grab the ones that you do, and then click trade. All trades will pretty much happen immediately, and any balance that you don't use in your trade actually stays on the site for you to use for any future trades that you decide to do. And right now, if you use the link in the description, you can actually get a 35% deposit bonus, and that's good for up to $100. So let's say you deposit $100, you would actually get $135 on the site if you use my link. So make sure you check out SkinsMonkey, and let's hop right back into the video. For our next trick, we actually have a trick with ladders. If you ever watched a professional play the game, you might notice that they can go up ladders really fast, and sometimes they can go up really fast and silent. And the way you're going to do it is when you're going to go up a ladder, specifically the nuke ladder to go to a site, you're just going to hold W and D or W and A and then aim the opposite direction, and then you'll go up really fast. Now you can take this same logic to actually go up a ladder fast but silently at the same time, because ladders are weird and they're broken up into sections. So you can think about it like this: you can go up about this much without making a sound cue no matter how fast you go. So if you hold W and D for this amount of time, you actually won't make a sound cue. So pros take this logic and they actually can just fly up the ladder in sections, making sure that they don't go up a full section. That way they don't actually make a ladder sound. Do you still have that annoying text at the bottom left of your game when you're playing? Well, if you want to disable that, it's really easy. Just open up the console and type in this command, and after that you won't have to see that ever again. I'm still not sure why this is even on by default. This one's for the newer players. I hear still to this day that people think that switching weapons actually makes noise for the other players, and I'm here today to tell you that that is definitively not true. There was never a point where this was true. However, up until a recent patch, if you were watching a demo in-game or if you were watching a professional broadcast, there was actually a bug that allowed you to hear players switching weapons, and that was there for the entirety of CS2 up until like the last month. So at least I know where this rumor might have started, but it isn't true. Another trick that would be good for newer players and experienced players is to remember to peek with purpose. A lot of people who are new to the game or are running around mindlessly are peeking and then reacting whenever they see somebody instead of expecting to see somebody when they peek. Now what I mean by that is making sure that you're very deliberately clearing certain angles instead of just kind of letting your crosshair float and whenever you see somebody trying to flick to them, because if you do that, you're going to be very inconsistent whenever it comes to winning battles. I like to recommend that you break up a lot of the sites into different angles that you want to fight. For example, if you're coming out of ramp, maybe you peek CT, and then after that you peek towards default, and then after that you can check firebox, under balcony, and so on, instead of just running out of ramp and then hoping that you can react in time. Now what comes with this is also the understanding of how angles work in Counter-Strike. We can explain it with this very simple diagram, which is the closer that you peek to a wall, the more likely that somebody who is farther away will be able to see you. And if you peek farther away from a wall than somebody who's closer, you're going to see them first. And you can apply this to every single engagement in the game. If you're coming around a corner and you know that you're closer to the wall than the person that you're expecting to fight, then they can see you first. And then on the flip side, if you are farther from the wall than the person you're expecting to fight, then you will see them first. And there's a lot of different examples as to how this works, works. Of course, you're looking at some on screen right now, but just try to keep that in mind whenever you're going for fights. If you have the chance to back up and peek farther away, it's typically going to be better because you have a better chance of seeing the enemy before they see you. Another common misconception is what makes noise whenever you pick it up, because sometimes you'll be walking around and you'll make noise whenever you pick up a grenade or the bomb. And the reason that that's happening is because you actually don't make sound cues as long as you're holding shift or whatever your walk button is. But if you ever let go for whatever reason, maybe if you try to go for a crouch peek around a corner and you pick up something at the same time, that'll actually make a sound cue that will alert everybody. And it's most noticeable with the bomb. So if you ever try to go for a peek and accidentally make a bomb sound, it's because of that. So make sure that you're always holding shift whenever you don't want to make noise, because otherwise you could have an accident like that. And while we're on the topic of making noise, there is a really big pet peeve of mine, as well as the entire Counter-Strike community, to be fair, which is that if you see a teammate that's, say, walking in apartments on Inferno, you shouldn't run up next to him and try to go out, because when you do that, you take away from his play. He was walking the entire round to try to do something, and you came and you ruined it by alerting the other team. If your teammate's running, you run with them. If they're walking, you walk with them. And it's a pretty easy rule of thumb, but by keeping up with this, it'll make you look like less of a noob. Now, another thing that's not very well understood is how crouching works when you're jumping. So if you do a regular crouch and jump at the same time, you can actually get up higher than you would be able to just by doing a regular jump. Now, there's a couple of jumps in the game that this is a must do in order to get on them, but there's another ability that comes with crouching, which is if you ever are crouching and you fall off of something, you can actually let go midair in order to cancel out the dropping sound. Now, you can see a couple of examples of this on screen, but the idea is that if the surface that you're falling off is a certain height, you can actually get away without making a sound cue. This is most noticeable in areas like Connector on Mirage, when you can jump up and down from either side without making noise if you let go of crouch. But if you don't, you will make a dropping sound. And a lot of pros know how to do this, so whenever they maneuver around the map, you can see them drop off of things and remain silent. Now, this is something that is very important to know, but it is also important to know where it doesn't work as well. And some of the most common spots that this happens on are these bricks on Mirage. You will actually make noise. The boxes on A-Site Infernal also will make noise if you drop off of them, and trying to drop off of either of the bomb trains on train. Now, there's another trick that you should know for every gun that has a spray pattern in the game, which is that the spray pattern you don't actually have to pull down forever on. At a certain point, it levels out, so you don't have to pull down all the way to the floor. You can see two examples on the screen right now, one of the AK and one of the M4A4, and both of these actually, you don't have to pull down after the 10th bullet or so then you would just go left or right. So if you're ever in a long spray fight, just remember you don't have to keep pulling down. And yes, that is something for newer players, but I just recently had a teammate who has 5,000 hours in the game who is still making this mistake, so just make sure you're not doing this too. Now, there's nothing worse than losing the bomb as a T, because it can really disrupt the round. For example, if you die on Cat, you can drop the bomb into CT, and it seems like almost every single time that the bomb can fly somewhere it shouldn't, it does. But there's actually a way to manipulate the way that the bomb falls, and it's actually really simple. The bomb will actually fly whichever direction you're looking. So a tip that a lot of people have is if you're expecting to die, like jumping across a log, you should just look towards the site. That way, even if you do die, the bomb will fly over to the ramp for your teammates to grab. Another good example of this is if you are going up Cat, to try to stay farther back. That way, if you die, the bomb won't fly into CT, or if you know you're going to die again, just look towards the left or right so it flies somewhere useful. But that simple trick will help you win way more games because you just won't be losing the bomb anymore. Now, you might have noticed that pros seem to be masters with the Deagle, and it seems like whenever they spam the gun, it's always accurate. Well, that's actually a really well-known trick, which is the timer that the Deagle accuracy resets. Now, an easy way to remember this is that it actually resets to the beat of Stayin' Alive. And if you don't know that song, it goes a little something like bop, 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 Stayin' Alive. You know what I'm saying? And if you're able to do that whenever you're spamming the Deagle, your bullets will be pretty accurate. So as long as you don't panic whenever you're spamming the Deagle, and you can keep the bop, bop, bop tempo, you will notice that your bullets are going to be significantly more accurate. Now, whenever you're watching a pro game, look to see when they do this, because I promise you that they're doing it too. One of my favorite additions to CS2 is the ability to see how far noise you make can be heard from. So for example, if I make noise in bottom mid, if you look at the radar, you can see how far my footsteps can be heard from. And this is really useful if you're new to a map or if you just need a nice reference. Something that I think a lot of people don't know is that if you make steps on B site, you actually cannot be heard from in tunnels. So don't be afraid to run your rotate here. And you can always look up to your radar if you need that reference. And this does go for every sound, not just footsteps. For example, if I scope, you can can see who can hear when I'm scoping around me on the radar. If I was to swing my knife, this is also a completely different thing, or even jumping. If I zoom in, you can see that I do make a tiny little circle around myself whenever I'm jumping. So if you're ever in a spot where you're jumping up somewhere, somebody who's really close to you might be able to hear you jumping up, so just make sure that you keep that in mind. So the next time that you're unsure if something makes noise in game, make sure you look at your radar because it'll tell you if something does or not. So that was 10 minutes of useful CS2 information. Let me know how many of these that you knew, and let me know if you want to see another part to this, because I have a few more tips that I wanted to put in this video, but I still wanted to keep it shorter. But regardless, if you did enjoy the video, make sure you guys like it, share it with your friends that you queue together with, so that way you can win more as a team. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, and hopefully I'll see you guys very soon. And much love as always.